So summarize allows you to make summary tables. So it basically allows you to take a lot of rows of data and kind of pare that down to one or a lesser amount of informative numbers. So that would be an example of taking the mean or the average, the median, which is the middle value, or maybe you want the biggest or smallest values with max or min. And we can do this with summarize. So if we take the SPR data set, and again, we pipe it in, and we summarize the mean response time. So we give summarize and then what we want to do and on what column. Then it will just tell us what the mean response time is. If you had NAs here, you might have to like drop the NAs in the RT column before you did this. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a mean because it will be, you can't calculate a mean if there's an NA in there. So you might want to add that, but here we don't have any, so we don't need it. And we can just summarize, get like one informative number out of the whole data set. You can do the same for median. You can also spell this the American way if you feel like it. And that will return the median. If you don't want this weird column name, you can just give it a new column name, which looks a lot like our mutate syntax. So the new column name is equal to whatever number you want it to be. So we could have this called like average underscore RT if we wanted. Basically, we can just rename it. This is useful, but it gets even more useful when you pair it with group by. And group by will allow you to tell R that you have groupings in your data and you want to reflect those in these summary numbers. So maybe you don't want just like the mean RT, but you want each participant's mean RT, or you want the average response time for conditions or when reading certain words. And that's where group by is going to come into the picture here. So in this data set, we have, again, like this matching and mismatching collocates. We have both cats and dogs. And we want to see, okay, does preceding a word with a mismatching collocate slow down response times? And we can already start to look at that without doing any stats, just in our sort of exploratory data analysis by using group by and summarize. And when we do this, we have like a 2 or 3 step process. So first you have to group by something. So you have to tell R what your grouping variable is. Then you use summarize to say what summary statistic you want that to output. And then you ungroup. So usually you're not going to see much difference from ungrouping, but you should do it because otherwise R has like a weird selective memory where somewhere down the line you're doing something totally unrelated. It will suddenly say you can't drop a row or something because it's an important grouping variable. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to always tell R to ungroup. So you can see here that group by and ungroup are like, they go together. Okay, so here we start with the SPR dataset, as we've been doing this whole time. And we want to group by condition. So we want to look at the mean RT by condition. So group by condition, then return the average response time per condition, and then ungroup. And if we run that, then you'll see we have our conditions like match and mismatch, and we have our mean response times. So in this data set, we can see that a matching collocate leads to average response time that seems quite a bit faster than a mismatching collocate. You can always name this like I showed above. So instead of this mean RT, you can say average RT is equal to the mean, and then you'll get like a different name. That can be useful if you want to use it later, or if you just want to have like a prettier table. And you can even do stuff to this column as you would do in mutate. So you could have the average RT in seconds, and you could divide it by 1000. Basically, you can chain on a bunch of stuff there. I don't know how often you'll use that, but it's something that you can do. And we have, in this data set, we have like this match and mismatch, but we also had like sentences about cats and sentences about dogs, right? So maybe we want to see not just the condition, but also what word, so which animal this sentence was about. And then we can group by like unique combinations of items. So we can group by condition and animal. And what this will do is just return like the match when it was matching and the animal that the sentence was about was a cat, then the mean RT was 336, matching about a dog was 319, mismatching about a cat, and mismatching about a dog. So you can see that just by making a little summary table like this, you can already get quite a bit of insight into what's going on in your data set without having to do any stats. So yeah, that was if you group by and summarize. You may also not want to return something like an average or a median or a range or whatever, but you might want to count how many items or how many rows are in like different categories. And for that, we can use count, and count basically replaces summarize in that condition, in that case. So we can group by word and then just count and then ungroup. And this is going to create a column called N, which just has like the number of times each of these words showed up in our entire data set. So we group by word and then we can count. Just to show a little tidyverse further piping action here, we can group by word and count, and if we wanted to, we could arrange these by descending number, and then we would have it like in order. So this is the word that shows up the most, and then so on. But basically, you can use count instead of summarize if you just want to return how many items are in each grouping.